So there are some more statements which you can use to perform some very specific task in this C++ language. And these are break statement, continue statement. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Continue statement. And we have this after this break and continue statement, we can also use switch cases, a very important concept which you can use to solve some particular problems. I will give you an example of this switch case as well as I will give you format for using this switch case. And in last, we have go to statements. See, these statements, these four cases are actually something which you cannot obtain with the help of loops. These statements are independent of loops. For example, if loop, for loop, while loop can perform some specific task, but in some questions you will have to have some particular scenarios for which you have to use these type of statements. Otherwise, you cannot complete that question. You cannot obtain the desired result. For example, let's see one by one these statements. For example, if I talk about break statement, this particular statement is used to break the iterations of a loop. This statement is used to break the iterations of a loop on a particular condition. Whenever a particular condition is met, this statement, if you write break, this break statement will directly come out of the loop. Compiler will come directly outside the loop if it encounters this break statement. For example, you are running a loop, you are running a for loop, okay, and you have some condition like you are initializing a variable I is equal to 0 from 0, and you are moving this variable I up to 100 with each step of I plus plus. Now you will be performing, suppose in this loop, in the body of this for loop, you are performing some specific task. But let's say during these iterations, okay, tell me the number of iterations in this particular loop. There will be 100 iterations, right? But during the iterations of this for loop, if for a particular condition, you want to break this for loop, if that particular condition encounters, then this for loop should stop irrespective of what is the value of I. For example, suppose you want to, okay, more specifically, suppose if I make it n, I do not know the value of n. The value of n is entered by the user, and you are performing some task like this cout I. So basically, you are from 0 to n, you are printing the value of I in each iteration. But as soon as the value of I becomes 37, let's say, for example, if I is equal to 37, then in that case, break this loop. I can just write break, and then I will end my body of for loop. So with this statement, what will happen? See, if user entered any number which is less than 37, suppose n entered by the user is 30, then this particular condition, this particular code will generate 1 to 30, 1 2 3 4 up to 30, right? But suppose if user enter 50, then at the 37th iteration, when the value of I is 37, then this condition will become true. The compiler will go inside the body of if loop, and inside the body of if loop I am using break statement. That means it will break the for loop. Now if n is equal to 50, it will print 1 2 3 up to 37. Okay, up to 37, because cout is before this break statement. And after this 37, as soon as the compiler enters this line, if I is equal to 37, it will break the for loop and it will come outside the for loop. It will not print the values from 38 to 50. So in short, the usage of this break statement is to break any loop. If any particular condition is met, then whether this condition I is less than equal to n, whether this condition is true or false, it doesn't matter. If you are writing break inside the body of for loop and the condition of this break is true, then it will come outside the for loop. Then it will come outside the for loop, right? So depending on the demand of the question, you can use the break statements in some cases. Okay, for example, suppose, okay, I will make this code on your compiler, and then we will see. And I will modify this code. Yes. क्या बनाया था हमने? Enter number. I want to see in this number into a variable. Let's say n. I want to use a for loop for I equal to 0 to I less than equal to n and I plus plus. And in the body of this for loop, I just want to print cout the value of I, and I can also use tab to differentiate the values of I. And I want to break this for loop. Let's say if I equal to 37, let's say, then I want to break this for loop. Break. Right. So if I run this code, n declares these variables also, n and I, int n I. Yes, क्या कह रहे थे?
हाँ सर यही बोल रहा था.
Okay, good. So if I declare these variables, it will ask enter number. Let's say I enter 30. It will say 0 by t. Why it is saying 0 by t? Okay. 0. Cout I. the I will move from 0 to n, and in the 0, when I is equal to 0, in the first iteration itself, it is breaking. Why? Okay, if I equal to 37, sorry, I am just comparing the values of content I and 37. It should not be I equal to 37. That was a silly mistake. Okay, so it will show you, you can see 0, 1, 2, 3 up to 30. But on the similar lines, if I had not used this break statement, if I enter 50, then it should also print the numbers from 1 to 50, right? But in this case, you can see it is only printing up to 37. After 38, as soon as this condition is true, I is equal to 37, this for loop will be breaked. Instead, yes, of course, the condition of for loop is not false yet, but yes, because of this break statement, the compiler is coming directly outside the for loop without falsifying the condition of for loop, right? So it is simple. Now you can see the importance of this break statement. Whenever for any particular condition, if I want to break any loop, then I can use this break statement. Another example, let's say inside this for loop, I want to, let's say I want to ask the number from the user. Okay, I want to ask the number from the user. I am just changing it to 100. Let's say I will play with 100. I will ask the user to enter 100 different numbers, and in each time I will enter the number into variable n, and I will print the value of, let's say, n square. Okay, but as soon as the entered value is divisible by 10, let's say is divisible by 10, then I do not want to continue the game. Okay, so this particular code, as you can see, is actually for 100 times this game will be played by the user. Each time he or she will enter a number, and it will display the square of that number. Okay, and the user can play. Yes, the user can play. Okay, instead of this n square, I will write you win, then it will be more obvious. You win. Okay, you win means he has entered a number which is not divisible by 10. But suppose a user entered a number which is divisible by 10, then the game will be over. Then the game will be over. Irrespective of what is the value of I here. I can be 5, I can be 10, I can be 99, I can be 100 also. As soon as the user enters this number which is divisible by 10, this loop will end. Otherwise, he will continue to play. Okay, let's run this, and I will want to see. Okay, he is saying you win. Okay, एक ब्रैकेट नहीं है, एक लेस देन का साइन कम हो गया इसमें. Okay, enter number. So it is directly asking me enter number. I have entered 34. It is writing you win. Okay, and it is finishing the program. But as we can see, this 34 was not divisible by 10, right? So it should not end. ऐसा क्यों हुआ? Because cout is equal to enter number. We are entering this number into n, and we are writing cout you win. If n divided by 10 equal to 0, okay, again it is breaking because, okay, sorry, yes, enter number, let's say 34. He's saying you win, enter number. Okay, again after you win, I am taking line. I am changing the line so that it can be more deliberative. So if I run it, if I enter 34, it will say you win, enter next number, right? Again I enter 45, it will again say you win, enter next number. 17, you win, next number. So now if I enter 40, it will break. You win, enter number. Okay. Okay, still it is not coming, still it is not uh, going outside the for loop, right? So if n divided by 10 equal to 0, okay, be n percentage. You guys are not telling me na, if it should be n percentage 10.
Yes.
Okay, now I will run this. If I run this, then what will happen? Okay, you win, इसने लास्ट में लिखा है, बट उसके बाद में ये वापस एग्जिट कर गया है फोर लूप से, फोर लूप ब्रेक हो गया है. So to avoid this you win, after this what I can do is I can just write this statement after this. Okay, that case, yes, it will not print 34, you win, enter number 40, and he is saying you lost, you enter number 40, and it is exiting. So even before break I can write you lost and then break. That will be more specific. So if I write you lost and then I break the statement, then it will be more specific. Let's say 34, you win, enter next number. 57, you win, enter number. 30, let's say, and he is saying you lost, and it is coming outside the for loop, right? So this particular code actually using the break statement to break the for loop whenever a particular condition is met. If this particular condition, if condition is not met, then it will continue up to 100 iterations. It can take maximum 100 numbers. It can take maximum 100 numbers. A player can play 100 times, and if he continuously enters the number which is not divisible by 10, then he will continue to win. But as soon as he enters a number which is divisible by 10, he will lose and game will end, right? So this is the benefit of break statement. If you can analyze, you will see that without this break statement, this type of conditions cannot be met. If in any particular problem, suppose you want to use this type of conditions, then it will be very difficult. I think it will be impossible to use a alternative of break statement. Okay. Now, the next statement, which is also very important, is the continue statement. Is the continue statement. This condition, you can say, is even more specific to the break statement, because by using this condition, what you can do, you can make some changes in the program Okay, both of these break and continue statement can be used inside the loops. I will say must. I will use inside the loops. And break statement किस लिए था? To come outside the loop. At a particular condition. While this continue statement is to make some changes, and then continue the loops. Continue the loop body. Suppose you are using a loop, for loop, and for some particular conditions, let's say if I equal to I percentage equal to I percentage 10 equal to 0, that means if a I is divided by 10, then okay, it will be slightly confusing. What I want to do is I want to, let's say I want to find sum of these numbers I to 100. I is equal to 0 to 100. So in this case, what I can do is sum is equal to sum plus I, right? So in this way, if I use just this loop, it will, the sum variable will store the summation of numbers from 0 to 100 in this particular way. But suppose I want to delete the numbers from this sum variable which are divisible by, let's say 25, which are divisible by 25. Then what I will do is, then how I can modify this program, I can write if, okay, if I percentage 25 equal to 0, that means if number is, if this I is divisible by 25, then make a variable, let's say m equal to 0, right? Then make a variable m equal to 0, and after making this variable m equal to 0, continue the for loop, and in last, okay, before this I want to assign the value of I to a variable m before this condition, and later on I want to add this value of m to some variable. Okay, now again, see what I have done. I have assigned the value of I variable to a variable m, and I have checked if I is divisible by 25. Only on that condition I am making my m equal to 0. In all other conditions, my m will remain equal to I, and for each iteration, the value of m will be added to the variable sum. So if you can understand this code will add numbers from 1 to 24, numbers from 26 to 49, numbers from 51 to 74, and numbers from 76 to 99, right? Each time, on each iteration, the value of I will be transferred to the variable m. In next step, I will be checked whether it is divisible by 25 or not. If it is divisible by 25, the value of m will become 0, and then it will continue. It will continue means it will not break, it will continue, and then sum will be updated by a variable, updated by the value of the variable m. So in this case, I hope it should work like this. It should add all these numbers something like this. Okay, let's do. If I try to make this program, okay, I have to declare some variables. I will declare int sum is equal to 0, right? For I is equal to 1 to 100, okay, I plus plus cout. I am assigning the value of I to a variable n in this case because n मैंने ऊपर से ले रखा है, okay. And I am checking, after this I am checking if I percentage 25 equal to 0, then what it should do, it should make the value of n to 0 and continue the loop. Whatever it is doing, continue the loop. And in each iteration, I want to increase my sum variable to the value n, right? And in last, I want to see the content of variable sum. Cout variable sum, right? So basically, I am
सर
moving
सी
a
आउट
variable. Yes, क्या कह रहे हो?
सी आउट के बाद
Yes.
So basically what I am doing is I am moving a variable I from 0 to 100. Each time I am assigning that value of I to a variable n, and I am checking whether this number I, whether this variable I is divisible by 25 or not. And if it is divisible by 25, I am assigning 0 value to this n, and then I am continuing with the loop. And in each iteration, I am adding this value n to sum. So hopefully it should. Okay, let's see. It is saying okay. Okay, I think there is one extra bracket. One extra bracket is there, I think. That's why it is showing. Okay, it is showing 4800. So 4800, is it true? We are doing something like this. So if I manually check, I can see 100 into 100 plus 1 divided by 2. It will be 5050, right? Okay, and this 5050 is sum up to this 100, right? And I am decreasing 25, 50, 75 and 100 out of this, so it will be 250. Yes, it will be 250. So yes, it will be 4800. So yes, it is true. So this program, as you can see, actually it is just ignoring the values of I which are divisible by 25, and all other values it is adding to the variable sum. So moral of the story is, as I have told you in the starting, continue statement is used to make some changes and then continue to the body of loop, while break statement was used to come outside the loop at a particular condition. Okay, so you can use this type of break and continue statement in some very specific programs, and they can be handled very easily. Okay, for example, जो अभी किया था, इसमें कंट्रोल Z काम नहीं करता शायद. ओके, जो अभी किया था, एक लूप और बनाते, एक क्वेश्चन और बनाते हैं. लेट्स से आई वांट टू, ओके, एक एग्जांपल और बनाते हैं कंटिन्यू का. suppose there is a problem in which you are supposed to calculate sum of user entered positive numbers but they should be less than 50. The number entered by user should be less than 50. Okay, and suppose if the number entered by user is greater than 50, then it should be skipped from the calculations. Okay, and if number entered by user is negative number, then loop should terminate. Okay, so this is the condition. You want to make a program which will calculate the sum of number entered by the user, but the number entered by the user should be less than 50. Suppose in case if user enter a number which is greater than 50, then it should be skipped from the calculations, and if a number entered by the user is negative, then the program should terminate and it should tell you the sum of the entered numbers. Suppose a user entered 2, yes, it should be entered into the calculation and loop will continue. Suppose after this next number is 5, 15, 28, 48, 65 and -2. So if user entered the numbers like this in this fashion, then this program should continue with this yes 2, with this yes 2 plus 5 7 हो जाएगा, plus 15 है ठीक है, 28 acceptable है, 48 भी acceptable है, 65 is acceptable but will not be calculated into the variable sum. This should be ignored. And as soon as after this if he enters -2, then it is not acceptable and program should end. Display the sum of allowed entered number, I will say allowed entered numbers, right? So you understand the question now, right? Each time user will enter a number, you have to take a variable which will continue the sum into it. The number entered by the user will be stored into that variable, next number will be added into that variable, next number will be further added into that variable. This we can do easily, but this streak will continue until or unless a negative number is entered by the user, and during this streak of entering number, a number greater than 50 should be ignored. So in this question, how you can perform this? Okay, let's make a code for this particular program. Suppose I want to declare two variables in this case, int number equal to 0. I am initializing with two variables, sum is equal to 0, number is equal to 0. Now, nahi. So while this condition, this particular condition, the loop should terminate for a negative number. This I will incorporate directly. This I will incorporate directly using while loop. While this number entered by the user is greater than equal to 0, then only perform these tasks inside the body of this while loop. Otherwise, just end this loop, end this program. Okay, so I will write sum plus equal to number, right? Sum plus equal to number, and after this I will see out, I will ask the user for the number, see out, enter number. I will enter this number into variable number, into variable number. So C in into a variable number, right? Now if the entered number is, if number is greater than 50, then see out number is greater than 50 and would not be added into the sum variable, right? Slash n. Okay, and after this, yes, number will become 0, so that it will not be added into the sum variable. Number becomes 0. The value of number will become the value of number variable will become 0. So number will become 0 and continue to the loop. Don't come outside the loop, just continue the loop. But for this particular case, yes, the value of number will remain 0. It will not be added, right? So this if loop body I am closing here, and this while loop body was closing there. And in last, I want to display the sum. I want to display the sum. Okay. So in short, I will again explain this program. What I am trying to do is I am taking two variables, sum and number, and I am initializing with them 0. Now, initially, as the value of number variable is 0, so compiler will go inside the body of this while loop, because this condition is true. Number is greater than equal to 0. Number is equal to 0, so it will go. So it will encounter this statement sum plus equal to number, so it will add 0 to 0 and it will be stored into the variable sum. Next, it will ask a number from the user. It will update the value of variable number with the entered number. Now, if this number is greater than number, then it will be not, then number will again be made 0 and it will be continued. So again it will check the next number entered, was it is negative number. If it is negative number, then it will come directly outside the while loop. But if it is positive number, then this positive number will be entered into this sum variable, will be added into this sum variable. So I think it should run. Okay, let's see. See out sum बोल रहा है. At line 22 it is saying, okay, I think, okay, this is the main program, this is the bracket of while loop, this is okay, एक bracket फिर दोबारा से extra हो गई. Okay, so it is saying enter number. Let's say I enter 34. Okay, it has stored the number 34 into variable sum. It is again asking for a number, let's say 26. So keep in mind, now the sum is 60. Enter number, I am entering 56. Enter number, it is showing number is greater than 50 and would not be added into the sum variable. Okay, so till now sum is 60. I again entered 10. So again, now the content of sum variable should be 70. Now if I enter -2, it should show, it will show me 70. So this program is actually asking the numbers from the user. It is continuously adding them into a variable. If the entered number is greater than 50, this number will be discarded, this number will be ignored, and if entered number is negative, then the program will end. Then the program will end and it will show you the summation of the entered number in this last option. So yes, this problem was solved. Okay. So this was the use, you can say this was a very important use of this continue statement. So again, in this program, in this particular problem, you are seeing a continue statement is used when we want to make some change, and of course after making some these changes, we are continuing with the loop of the body. Right? So this break statement and continue statement should be clear to you now, right? And in some very simple examples, you can also, I have given you a very tough examples, but in simple examples you can also use this break and continue statements. For example, वो जो in childhood you must be played this game कि बुक को खोलते थे, है ना, कि ओड नंबर आया, अगर पेज नंबर पे ओड आया तो आउट हो गया, अगर इवन आया तो कंटिन्यू रहा, है ना, ऐसा कुछ होता था उसमें. तो उसमें भी एक आप सिंपल बना सकते हो, फॉर i इक्वल टू 0 to 100 लेस देन 100 i plus plus c out, enter number c in into a variable n, and if this entered number is an even number, then break, otherwise continue this loop 100 times. So this particularly, you can see, this for loop will continue to run 100 times, but if user enters this number which is divisible by 2, which is an even number, then it will break. Then for loop will break irrespective of the number of iterations. Right? And you can make many more programs on this break end. This break and continue statements. Okay. Next we will be doing I think these break and continue statements are clear to you now.